Okay guys, we're going to cook up some German today. We're going to be cooking up some Bratwurst and Knackwurst sausages with an old school German style crushed potato salad with dill pickles where you even make the mayonnaise yourself. Now just a heads up, this recipe is probably not something you could cook in a practical lesson. So it takes 45 minutes at least to cook the potatoes. You've got to peel them, you've got to cut them, you've got to cool them. So yeah, it takes, I reckon, all up almost 2 hours to make this recipe, but it might give you some inspiration for what you want to cook, and there are ways that you could probably do it a little bit faster. Just to give credit to where I got the salad recipe in particular from, so that's Gourmet Traveller in January 2014, which is one of my favourite magazines. German cuisine is a cuisine that's dear to my heart. So my mother-in-law is German and cooks me lots of yummy German food. So I hope I do this justice by giving it a crack. So you'll see that I've used some key ingredients common to German cuisine, which is sausages and mustard and potatoes. There are lots of other ingredients that are common to German cuisine and other methods that are used to make those. So things like veal are quite common in German cuisine, and they're often crumbed. So that's where you dip it in egg and then flour and then finally crumbs, and you fry that up. And fermenting is huge in German cuisine as well. So you may have heard of sauerkraut, not something that I'm a fan of, but something that is common in German cuisine where they essentially ferment cabbage, and it's a popular side dish. Anyway, I'll get on to just quickly the history of immigration to Australia from Germany. So 1949 is when the first German immigrants arrived in Victoria. They were under a British bounty to attract vineyard workers. And around the same time, there were German Lutherans that settled in South Australia. So hundreds more Germans rushed to Victoria hoping to strike gold in the 1860s as well. And at that time, they were the largest non-British group in Victoria. So they were 10,000 strong. And there were 13 German associations in Victoria's goldfield towns at that time. So in the 1870s, there was an economic downturn, political unrest in Central Europe, which saw a further increased immigration from the German states to Australia. However, when the First and Second World Wars happened at the start of the 19th century, there was a lot of anti-German sentiment in Australia. So many Germans were banned from immigrating, and they were often seen as enemies. But once the World War II was over, large numbers of Germans came to Australia. 22% were Lutheran, 10% were Jewish, and it saw a number of Germans in Victoria increase fivefold till there were almost 40,000. So German technology, manufacturing and trade soon became highly significant in Victoria, and today they constitute one of the largest ethnic groups in Victoria, with almost 29,000 German-born people in the 2011 census. Okay, so we've got 1.2 kgs of large Sebago potatoes. They've been unpeeled, they've been scrubbed, they've been put in cold salted water, and they're boiling there, and they're going to boil for about 45 minutes. Here I am, about to have a crack at making the mayonnaise. Now, my first attempt didn't work so well, but I am showing you at least here what ingredients go into the mayonnaise. So it's a mustard and horseradish mayonnaise with really strong flavour. So we start out with 1 tablespoon of mustard there. Tommy Mustard is a German brand that I love to use when making stuff like this. We've got a white wine vinegar there. There's a tablespoon that goes in there, and there'll be more that will go in a little bit later, I believe. And then I think the next step is I'm going to show you how to separate eggs. So we don't want to use the whites of the eggs. We only want to use the yolks. So the yolks give it that really rich, creamy kind of texture. But it is obviously difficult to separate a yolk from a white. This is the technique I normally use, is simply just move the yolk from side to side in the cracked egg until I've pretty much removed all the white. I mean, it's not an exact science, but usually it works. But there are some things that you make where you only use the whites and you really need to remove them. So here I am having my second crack at making the mayonnaise. This time I decided to actually make it in my KitchenAid, which was much better. So I've added in my 2 egg yolks. I'm adding in my tablespoon of vinegar. I'm going to add in my tablespoon of mustard here. And then we're going to whisk it up. So we'll whisk it up just to start with to mix these ingredients together, as you can see me starting to do here. And then once it's kind of mixed in, then we'll actually start adding some olive oil. So 220 mils all up, which sounds like a lot, but once you whisk it up, it emulsifies with the other ingredients already there. And so it becomes really kind of a bit thick and creamy actually. You wouldn't think it when you're adding it, but that's kind of how it ends up. So you add 220 mils, and you do it just in a really thin stream. So really kind of take your time. Don't just dunk it all in there at once, because it'll struggle to emulsify with the ingredients that are there. So you can see me, I'm adding it pretty slowly. This took a long time. But yeah, you can see the colour changing and the texture of the mayonnaise changing. Obviously, you can buy store-bought mayonnaise and save yourself a lot of time here. I decided to go through the process because it's in the recipe, and it turned out quite nice actually. So we've finished boiling our potatoes here. That took about 45 minutes. So yeah, you've basically got them pretty soft. You can see that the peel is just literally almost coming just straight off without too much effort there. So we're going to peel that, take the jacket off the potatoes, and we're going to cut them into really thick chunks. So you can see me about to do that here. So this process takes a little while as well, which is why I recommended earlier on that this is hard to do in a practical lesson, although you could parboil potatoes, you could prepare things in advance, but certainly within one practical lesson, you probably wouldn't even get through what you need to do with the potatoes. You could cook up the sausages, but you wouldn't get to finish this part of the process. But obviously in Australian supermarkets these days, you can buy German potato salad, so the effort may not always be worth it. So here I'm about to start dressing this salad. I've got about 100 mils there of liquid from the dill pickle jar, which is that jar just there. So I'm going to cut up a couple of those dill pickles as well. But the pickling liquid, I imagine, would kind of be giving it that flavour that you're used to in German cuisine, that idea of the fermented sauerkrauts and the like. The pickling liquid would definitely add to that. So I'm about to add that 70 mils of chicken stock there. So just to keep it moist, and probably add a little bit of flavour as well. A little bit more vinegar, once again, just give that little bit of kind of, pickling kind of flavour. I think that the Germans are used to. Oh, I'm adding 2 tablespoons actually. Sorry, I got my ingredients wrong. Some more garlic. Once again, the recipe calls for finely chopped, but I've decided just to go with the half a teaspoon of minced garlic to make this part of the process easier. Half a Spanish onion is going in as well. So you just need to make sure that you chop that up quite finely. So that's going in now. Put a bit of pepper in and we're going to mix it up. So there will be some more mixing, more ingredients going in here shortly, but we've just prepared that now. And we're cooking up our snags. So those ones, the light ones are Bratwurst and the darker ones are Knackwurst. Decided to fry them up. Knackwurst are often boiled, and you'll see that's common in German cuisine. So the potatoes often are obviously boiled, and lots of potato salad products are made, and Knackwurst are often boiled as well. Okay, final steps. So I'm dressing my salad there with half of my mustard and horseradish mayonnaise, and I think it's about 120 mils of sour cream and some herbs. So we've got there flat leaf parsley and dill. Very happy to say from a sustainable point of view that I grew the parsley that I put in this. So that's something to take into consideration as well, that you don't need to buy all this stuff. Some of it you can just grow yourself. And here we are serving it up. So you can see the Knackwurst doesn't really probably like frying, which is more of an Australian kind of style of cooking. But so long as it's fully cooked inside, it still tasted fantastic and still did the job. So there you go. Bratwurst, Knackwurst and German style potato salad. Thanks guys.